Our next top line speaker is, hang on just one moment. Perfect. Our next top line candidate is Representative Ron Hanks out of House District 60. He had a phenomenal victory at the Colorado State Assembly where the people said unanimously, we want Representative Hanks representing us at the U.S. Senate. And it's been a fascinating thing to watch. You know, some great candidates that ran against him, fabulous people, of course, everybody. But, you know, at the end of the day, the people of Colorado wanted someone who had legislative experience, who had military experience, who had foreign diplomacy experience, who has stood up and stood against the government of Colorado, who, when he couldn't get things done through the legislature, filed a lawsuit. I mean, this is a guy who just doesn't quit no matter what is happening. Representative Ron Hanks running for U.S. Senate for Colorado. Welcome to America's Mom. We're live this morning, so all of the fun glitches that come with being live, I appreciate you so much coming on. I just want everybody to know you and know who you are and understand why we are so passionate about supporting you for U.S. Senate. So how's it going?
It's going well this morning. 1,000 things to do, but that makes it just an ordinary Monday, right? So
for you, absolutely. I'm surprised you're not in your car. This is Colorado, so.
Yeah, I've got a meeting in about 20 minutes, but it's a short distance away. So I'm happy to be on with you this morning, seated in a chair, not in a truck this time. So.
I'm impressed. Well, thank you so much for giving us your time. I think there are a lot of people in Colorado this morning who are making their final decisions on who they want representing them in the U.S. Senate. And so first of all, you know, you've talked about restoring America. You're talking about bringing back, our ability to be independent in America, from oil and gas to infrastructure to even pharmaceuticals. Tell us a little bit about what you plan to do as the next U.S. Senator.
Well, sure, and I appreciate the chance. You know, to me, this whole race is national security, and inflation now has become a national security issue. And I'm running truly on 4 pillars, and those 2 of those pillars directly impact inflation. So the national security pillars are border security. We've got to get our border secure, cut the crime rate, cut the drugs that are coming across our border, cut the invasion of 2.5 million unchecked persons, and cut the human trafficking that is taking kids into the slave trade. That truly is the moral tragedy of our time. So that's the first pillar, is border security. The second one's energy independence. We have got to get energy independence. We had it, and Joe Biden ruined it on the first day he was in the White House. You know, I fracked in North Dakota, and I know blue collar America. We can get this back in a matter of months. It just takes a federal government that is responsive to what the people need. What we have right now is completely indifferent to what the people need. The third one, Sherronna's manufacturing. When we have supply chain shakeups like we did with the China issue and the China virus and all the work stoppages and the port backups, it's inflationary, and we need to be producing these goods that we need for all of our manufacturing and for our consumer goods. We need to do that here. It's good paying jobs for Americans on top of that. So, you know, once we get a supply chain that is in check and standardized, where we don't have gaps and shortages, it lowers inflation. And the last one is education. I'm very concerned about this. It is truly national security when our kids are being brainwashed and indoctrinated. They're not being educated. They aren't being taught to love this country as the exceptional government and people that we are. And to that end, we need to eliminate the U.S. Department of Education and bring the fight about our children's curriculum back to the state and local level.
1000%. I'm thinking about, you mentioned education. Literally, my 17-year-old son was told by his AP teacher in our local high school that he was a white supremacist for acknowledging that fentanyl is coming across the Mexican border and killing our American citizens. So when you talk about the wokeness in our school system and that ideology coming from DC all across this country, even into the most rural parts of our country and our state in particular, I can absolutely identify with that as a parent. I want to ask you a question. At one point during the Trump administration, Cory Gardner was seated with Governor Jared Polis at a table, and it was streamed. We all watched it on the news. And for then U.S. Senator Cory Gardner was asked, "How is Jared Polis doing by President Trump?" To which Cory Gardner replied, "He's doing a good job." I want to know, as a U.S. Senator, will you point out the flaws that are happening in our state? Will you continue to draw attention to the inequities that Governor Polis has created in this state by destroying our energy, by destroying our ranching, by destroying our school districts and our trust with our public school teachers? Is that something that's going to be a part of what you do, continuing to remember the state that you came from?
Yeah, absolutely, Sherronna, because that's the whole purpose of being there. I have no interest in being there to be part of a social network. I mean, this to me is a military mission. As you know, I put in 32 years and I really didn't expect to be in politics at this point in my life. I'd retired at 2017, and then it was kind of an obligation to run for the state house. I haven't made a lot of friends up there because I pushed back on things that are wrong in a soft and squishy Republican Party. I am perfectly willing to do that moving forward into Washington, D.C., because, look what just happened with the red flag law bill. There were, 14 senators signed on to that before it had even been fully drafted. So, I mean, what kind of a commitment to our Constitution and our Second Amendment is that? When you are willing to compromise, they are willing to compromise on a document they haven't even seen yet. It's grotesque, and we need to bring that out every day. The guy I'm running against, he would have voted to codify Roe versus Wade, and we just had a tremendous victory last week at the Supreme Court overturning that. It's been 50 years in the making. And what we don't need is a bunch of squish Republicans that are going into these offices and then not saying anything. That's not who I am. I've got a lot to say when I see injustice and lack of conservative and traditional American values.
Well, let's talk about your opponent for just a moment. His name is Joe O'Dea, and honestly, we could call him Michael Bennet 2.0 in my sincere opinion. He supports Build Back Better. He supports apparently vaccination passports. Had no problem walking into CBS News station, showing his papers in order to get in for that interview. That was an incredible debacle 2 weeks ago, and thank you for standing up against that. Joe O'Dea didn't seem to see the significance of businesses requiring a passport for entry. He also supports abortion, as we all have learned, very pro-choice. I believe he was denied communion, actually, by his priest now for the statements that he made regarding abortion. And then finally, so Build Back Better, gun restrictions. This guy claims to be a Republican. He built a successful construction company. That's awesome. But when it comes to policy, which is what a U.S. Senator advances, supports, and creates, he's all over the place. He literally is a Democrat running in a Republican race. Oh, you're muted. Hang on. There you go. There you go.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I get interrupted there?
Yeah. So he's a Democrat running under the Republican banner. What do you say to that?
Yeah, sorry about the interruption. Like I said, now only 999 things to do. But yeah, we have called him pay to play O'Dea because the reality is he didn't go through the vetting process of actually dealing with the people, advancing his message in caucus and assembly. He showed up at a few events and read off of a sheet of paper who he was and what he stood for, and it was pretty unconvincing. So he bought signatures to petition on, and it's pretty weak. That's why nobody knew what he stood for. They didn't know he was not pro-life. The so-called conservative media here in Colorado were stunned, and they said, how could this happen? Somebody called in and said, because he didn't go through the process. Nobody vetted him. And he's really an uncredible candidate at this point. He has really gone into desperation mode and started to double down on misrepresentations and lies about my record and my background. We have brought him out on our website under a truth and fact tab on hanks4colorado.com. I'd invite people to look at it, but I mean, the latest thing I heard is he called me a Democrat, and he said, I used to be a Democrat. I've never been one. And I'm not insulting anybody who ever was a Democrat in the Kennedy Truman tradition. But, bottom line, the cut scores just came out, Sherronna, the Colorado Union of Taxpayers, and I'm rated either 7th or 8th. They're most conservative, and they really don't have a leg to stand on. They're making up a lot of lies. It shows a lot of desperation, and frankly, what I think that means is we will be moving forward to fight Michael Bennet come Wednesday morning. We should have already been there. Had he gone through the assembly process, this pay-to-play O'Day, we would have knocked him off of the ballot as well. So here we are, and we start fighting Bennett on Wednesday.
Well, I got to tell you, Representative Hanks, it's going to be a pleasure to see you have victory on Tuesday night. We don't take anything for granted. Everybody needs to turn their votes in, and nothing is confirmed until those votes are counted. I want to say, though, I was in Larimer County, gas and oil country, on the night that Jefferson Thomas, the representative for Joe O'Day, was booed off the stage. So I think that's very telling. You've been an incredible ally in the parents movement, in the medical freedom movement, in the liberty movement here in Colorado. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking all the bullets for us.
Well, it's been an honor, and thank you for being such a field general in this process of getting the groundswell of Republican motivation. I mean, that's what we know, Sherronna. I don't know how much time you were giving me to close this out, but we have an amazing ground game, and it is not dissipating. The opposition, the establishment, thought we would have quit by now. And what they didn't realize is how much stronger we have become. Assembly was totally unexpected for them. I mean, it was such a rout of fresh delegates, never been there before, unaffiliateds coming back to the party, and they were stunned. And then they thought it would just kind of die out, and it's only gotten stronger. So you're right. We take nothing for granted, but I would implore everybody, don't leave any votes on the table. Don't let your neighbors leave their ballots on the kitchen table. Bring them in, walk them in person, and deliver them, or exchange them to vote on the machines. I'm a little distrustful of those, but here we are now. On the last couple of days, you can at least bring them in to the county clerk office, not some drop box somewhere. And if we do all,
I muted you.
Sorry, and we have some good poll watchers, we win this.
Representative Hanks, I know you have such a busy day. I can't thank you enough for jumping in to speak to the people of Colorado. I appreciate you so much. God bless you. And here's to victory on Tuesday night.